In 1996, police received a 911 call from the highest-paid child actor in history, Macaulay Culkin. $50 million in the bank. His face on every magazine cover in America. And he was calling the cops on his own father.
Your father was described as the father from hell.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
What happened next? He vanished. No films and interviews. Nothing. The tabloids went wild. They said he was 6 months from death. Headlines screamed about drug addictions and Hollywood meltdowns. They were all wrong. What actually happened to Macaulay Culkin is a story nobody was ready to hear. Until now.
Have you ever been home alone?
Sometimes on purpose.
How did that happen?
Oh, they just leave me there. I don't know why.
It was a Thursday night. Inside a luxury apartment on Manhattan's Upper West Side, 15-year-old Macaulay Culkin picked up the phone and dialed 3 numbers. And 911, my father is assaulting me. Police arrived within minutes. They found Kit Culkin, 50 years old, standing in the apartment. He didn't deny it. He admitted to striking his son. Told the officers it was because the boy hadn't cleaned his room. He'd missed school and he needed discipline. The cops looked at the most famous kid in the world sitting there with a red mark on his face. They took the report, referred it to family court. No charges filed. But here's what nobody understood at the time. That call wasn't about one slap. It was about 9 years of abuse, control, and being locked in hotel rooms, forced to memorize scripts, treated like a product instead of a person. 9 years of watching his father take everything, every dollar, and every piece of his childhood, while giving nothing back but fear. Macaulay had been hit before, many times. He'd been screamed at, threatened, humiliated. He'd been told he was nothing without his father.
Your father was described as the father from hell.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
He'd been reminded constantly who was really in charge, but that night was different. His father hit him, told him to get up, hit him again, and something inside Macaulay finally snapped. He didn't fight back. That's what Kit wanted. He wanted his son to swing so he could put him down harder. Instead, Macaulay did something his father never expected. He looked Kit in the eyes and said 2 words. That starts with F and ends with U.
That I just wanted him to know that I wasn't going to let him get away with those kind of things anymore.
I'm sure you can figure it out. Then he walked to his room, closed the door, locked it, and called the police on the man who made him a star.
Closed my door, locked it, called the cops on him.
Years later, Macaulay explained why he did it. Not for revenge. He just wanted Kit to know that the free pass was over, that from now on, there would be consequences. Within months, his parents would be at war. There would be a custody battle so ugly it made national headlines. There would be lawyers, accusations, and a fight over $50 million that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with greed. And Macaulay Culkin, the kid who'd made Home Alone the highest-grossing comedy in history,
here's the #1 box office guy in the country right now. Here's Macaulay Culkin.
would disappear from Hollywood entirely. No more movies and interviews. No more Kevin McAllister. Just gone. For years, the world asked the same question. What happened to that kid? The answer is darker than anyone imagined. Because before there was a 911 call and custody battle, before there was a disappearance, there was a father who saw his son as nothing more than a lottery ticket, and he was determined to cash it in. Kit Culkin never made it. He'd had his shot. Broadway in the 1960s, small roles alongside Laurence Olivier, a bit part in West Side Story. He was supposed to be somebody. Then he fell off a stage during King Lear, eyes closed during a soliloquy, walked right off the edge, and whatever career he might have built crumbled. By the time Macaulay was born in 1980, Kit was working odd jobs and living in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment with 7 kids and a woman he never bothered to marry. 7 kids, 1 bedroom, no doors except the bathroom, and that one didn't even have a lock. Then a neighbor made a suggestion. Your kid's got something. You should put him in acting. Kit looked at 4-year-old Macaulay and saw what he'd been waiting for his whole life. A second chance. He quit his job immediately, made himself Macaulay's manager, started dragging the kid to auditions, commercials, anything that would get him in front of a camera. And it worked. By 6, Macaulay was booking roles. By 8, he'd starred in Uncle Buck opposite John Candy. By 10, he was Kevin McAllister. Home Alone grossed $476 million worldwide. #1 at the box office for 12 straight weeks. The highest-grossing live-action comedy ever made, a record it would hold for over 20 years. Macaulay Culkin was 10 years old, and overnight, he became the most valuable child in Hollywood. Studios wanted him for everything. His salary exploded. $100,000 for Home Alone, $4.5 million for Home Alone, $2.5 million for The Good Son, $8 million for Richie Rich, the highest salary ever paid to a child actor. By 14, Macaulay was worth an estimated $50 million, and Kit controlled every single penny. He negotiated the contracts, signed the deals, and collected the checks. Macaulay never saw a bank statement, never even knew how much money he was making. Here's how deep the control went. Kit would physically hide newspapers from his own son. Why? Because those papers had headlines about Macaulay's salary, and Kit couldn't risk his golden goose figuring out just how golden he really was. Kit didn't just manage his son's career, he weaponized it. When the studio behind The Good Son cast another boy in the lead role, Kit threatened to pull Macaulay from Home Alone 2 unless they fired the kid and gave the part to his son. They caved. The original actor was out. The director quit in protest. Kit didn't care. He got what he wanted. On every set, he made impossible demands. Rewrites, special treatment, more money. Cast and crew walked on eggshells around him. One casting director said, "People tell me Macaulay is too expensive and his father is too much." But as long as the money kept flowing, Hollywood tolerated Kit Culkin. And Macaulay? He had no choice. He was 10 years old, supporting a family of 9, working 14-hour days on film sets while his father pocketed the profits and reminded him every single night who was really in charge. Why did Kit treat his son like that? Macaulay figured it out later. Jealousy, pure and simple. Kit had chased Hollywood his whole life and got nothing. His son walked in at 10 years old and got everything. That's not something a man like Kit Culkin could forgive. Here's what nobody saw behind the cameras. Every night, wherever they were filming, Kit Culkin would lock his son in a hotel room to study lines. No friends, just a script and a father who expected perfection. Macaulay never went to regular school. He was enrolled in professional children's school in New York, but filming schedules made consistent attendance impossible. One of his Home Alone castmates later said Macaulay didn't even know how to catch a ball or play tag. He was the most famous kid on earth, and he had no idea how to be a kid. "I've done 14 films," Macaulay said, "and I've never read one of the scripts. Not one of them. I had a basic idea of what it was about, but I wouldn't actually know what it was until I'd go to the premiere and see it." He didn't choose his roles. He didn't decide where he lived or what he ate or when he slept. Kit made every decision. Kit took every meeting. And when Macaulay didn't perform, when he was too tired, too slow, too human, Kit reminded him who was in charge. Macaulay doesn't sugarcoat it anymore. In interviews, he's described his father in the simplest terms possible. A bad man. Not complicated or misunderstood, just bad. The abuse wasn't just mental, it was physical too. And when people doubt him, Macaulay has said he'd be happy to show them the scars. They're still there, proof that doesn't fade. Kit would threaten him before takes. "Do good or I'll hit you." And he followed through. But the physical abuse was only part of it. Kit understood something darker. He knew how to break a person's spirit without leaving visible marks. Despite making millions of dollars, Macaulay wasn't allowed to sleep in a bed. Let that sink in.
He didn't want us to sleep on a bed. We weren't going to sleep on a bed.
The highest-paid child actor in history slept on the couch. He and his brother shared it while Kit had a massive bed and a giant television in his own room. Why? Because Kit wanted his son to understand something. In that house, Kit was in charge. And if he decided his son didn't deserve a bed, then his son wasn't getting a bed. It was control in its purest, cruelest form. By 13, Macaulay was running on empty. He'd been working non-stop since he was 6. Film after film. 14 movies in 6 years. More than 2 per year. An insane pace for an adult actor. For a child? It was destroying him. During the filming of The Good Son, Macaulay finally worked up the courage to ask for help. "I went up to my father and said, 'I think I need some time off. I'm really exhausted.' Kit looked at him, said sure, no problem, he'd look into it. The next week, Macaulay was on another film set. That's when something clicked in his brain, a realization that would haunt him for the next 2 years. There's basically nothing I can do to make this stop. So he did the only thing he could do. He turned himself off. The 911 call changed everything. Within weeks of that April night, Kit and Patricia's relationship imploded. After 20 years together and 7 children, they were done. And what followed was one of the ugliest custody battles Hollywood had ever seen. But make no mistake, this wasn't about the children. This was about money. $50 million to be exact. All of it earned by a kid who'd never seen a bank statement in his life. The trial dragged on for months. Accusations flew, lawyers billed hundreds of thousands of dollars. Patricia claimed she couldn't afford rent, while millions sat in trust funds she couldn't access. The family was on the verge of eviction. Meanwhile, Macaulay watched his parents tear each other apart over money he'd earned and never been allowed to touch. During the proceedings, he finally learned the truth. His father had kept him completely in the dark. Kit had deliberately hidden it all, confiscating newspapers, controlling information, treating his son like a mushroom, kept in the dark and fed shit. At 16, Macaulay made a decision that would define the rest of his life. He went to court and removed both of his parents' names from his trust fund. Not just his father, both of them. He wasn't picking sides, he was taking control. He hired an independent executor to manage his finances. For the first time ever, the money he'd earned would belong to him. The judge ordered mandatory visitation with Kit. Macaulay's response? No. Flat out refused. His lawyer warned him. That's contempt of court. You could end up in jail. Macaulay didn't care. He told his lawyer to deliver a message to the judge. Go ahead, arrest me. Put the most famous kid in the world behind bars for not wanting to see his abusive father. See how that plays in the headlines. It was the one and only time Macaulay ever used his fame as a weapon. And it worked. The visitation order was never enforced. And here's what happened next. The moment Kit Culkin's name came off the trust fund, he stopped showing up. He didn't come to the final day of the custody trial. He didn't fight for his children. He just vanished. Without access to his son's money, Kit had no reason to stay, so he didn't. Patricia won custody of the 7 children. Kit walked away. And Macaulay Culkin, the kid who'd been working since he was 4 years old, who'd made more money than most people see in a lifetime, who'd supported his entire family while being denied basic things like a bed, finally made his own choice. At 14 years old, at the peak of his fame, with studios lining up to throw millions at him, he quit. Just like that. Done. His message to his family was simple. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Hope you got what you wanted out of me, because the bank is closed, permanently. And just like that, he was gone. The tabloids went crazy. Where was Macaulay Culkin? What happened to the kid from Home Alone? Why did he suddenly stop making movies? For years, the rumors multiplied. He was on drugs. He was in rehab. He was dying. Every few months, a new story would surface claiming inside knowledge about his downward spiral. In 2004, they seemed to get their proof. Macaulay was arrested in Oklahoma City. Police pulled over the car he was riding in for speeding and found marijuana, Xanax, and Klonopin. The mugshot went everywhere. Gaunt face, hollow eyes, the former child star looking like a ghost of the kid America had loved. Poor Macaulay Culkin, the headline screamed. $6,000 a month drug addiction. Friends say he's dying. 6 months to live. The narrative was set. Another child star destroyed by fame. But here's what nobody bothered to report. Macaulay wasn't dying from drugs. He was drowning in depression. He'd escaped his father. He'd taken control of his money. He'd walked away from Hollywood on his own terms. But the damage was already done. 9 years of abuse, exploitation, and control had left wounds that didn't show on the surface. The depression hit him like a slow drowning. He'd lock himself in the bathroom for hours, 12 hours sometimes, just sitting in the tub, doing nothing, going nowhere. Food lost its taste. Things he used to love, eating, laughing, living, none of it mattered anymore. He wasn't suicidal. It was worse than that. He just stopped caring about anything at all. He wanted to disappear. He thought if he locked himself away long enough, grew up out of sight, people would forget about that kid. They didn't. And then the losses started piling up. In 2000, his half-sister Jennifer died of a drug overdose. She was 30 years old. In December 2008, his older sister Dakota was crossing a street in Los Angeles. It was late at night, near a bar in Marina del Rey. She stepped off the curb and was struck by a car. Massive head trauma. She died the next day, 29 years old. Macaulay had spoken to her that very night. She'd called to say she'd watched one of his movies, Party Monster, and wanted to compliment his performance. "I want you to stay focused and enthused," she told him. Macaulay thanked her. told her to get some rest, just a normal throwaway goodbye between siblings, the kind you say when you think there will be 1,000 more conversations. Then she went out to get Gatorade and cigarettes, and never came back. The grief hit him like nothing before. What felt worse for me, Macaulay said, was when I woke up and I didn't feel anything at all. That's the thing that hurts the most, because you're feeling nothing. But you're also feeling hurt because you don't care anymore. That's the scary stuff. That's the stuff you really have to try to figure out. Every Christmas, families around the world watched Home Alone together. They laughed at Kevin McAllister's pranks. They quoted his lines. They wondered whatever happened to that kid. He was right there, alive, breathing, but barely. Macaulay Culkin had a choice. Stay in the darkness. Let the depression and grief consume him. Become another cautionary tale. Child star burns bright, flames out young, dies alone. Or crawl out. He started slow, careful, on his own terms. He took small acting roles that interested him. Not because they paid well, but because he actually wanted to do them. He formed a comedy band called the Pizza Underground that performed Velvet Underground covers rewritten to be about pizza. Ridiculous? Sure. But it was his. He started a satirical website called Bunny Ears. He did podcasts. He showed up in random places just to make people laugh. He wasn't trying to be Kevin McAllister again. He was trying to figure out who Macaulay Culkin actually was when nobody was controlling him. And then, in 2017, everything changed. He was in Thailand, filming a small movie called Changeland. The director was his friend Seth Green. One of his co-stars was Brenda Song, a former Disney Channel star from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. She thought he was annoying. Their show had just been canceled, and Macaulay kept cracking jokes about it. He was trying to be funny, Brenda recalled, and I was not having it. He thought she was thoroughly unimpressed by him. But something clicked anyway. They started talking, then dating, then falling in love. For the first time in his life, Macaulay found something he'd never really had. A family that loved him, without conditions, without contracts, without wanting something in return. In April 2021, Brenda gave birth to their first son. They named him Dakota, after the sister Macaulay lost. In late 2022, their second son, Carson, arrived. The couple got engaged that same year. And Macaulay became something he never thought possible, a good father. There's a word that I use in my household, he said, because it's something I didn't really hear enough of when I was a kid. And that's proud. He never got that word from Kit, not once, no matter how many records he broke. His father never once told him he was proud of him, so Macaulay says it constantly to his own sons. For everything, for nothing, just because. When his oldest son froze at a dance recital and ran off stage crying, Macaulay scooped him up. The first thing out of his mouth, "Man, I'm so proud of you." In December 2023, Macaulay received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Brenda was there, his two sons, the first time the public ever saw them, his siblings, Catherine O'Hara, his on-screen mom from Home Alone, who joked about leaving him home alone not once, but twice. "You've given me all my purpose," he told Brenda during his speech. "You've given me family."
Lastly, but not leastly, I'd like to thank Brenda.
Meanwhile, Kit Culkin sits somewhere alone. He has 7 children and 5 grandchildren. None of them speak to him. None of them care. Macaulay has said his father will probably die alone. And honestly, that's exactly what he deserves. Macaulay Culkin survived his father. He survived Hollywood, depression, grief, and a world that wanted him to fail. Would he change any of it? The abuse? The control? The years of darkness? No, because all of that made him who he is. And the person he became? He actually likes that guy. He thinks he turned out pretty cool. The pain, the struggle, the survival, it all built the man standing here today. He wouldn't change a thing. If this story hit you, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me whose story you want me to dive into next.